Well, today I'm going to unbox or unbag or whatever this wrapper is here. Rostov, the first Soviet counterattack, 1941. This is from SPI. I believe this came out in 79. It's a curious little package. I'm not sure exactly when I got this, but I did get this in the 80s, I believe. So that's how long I've had this one. I played this, a friend's copy, a long time ago, but I got this one, I believe, in the 80s. It was part of the Moment in Conflict series, which was a digest-size bagged folio micro game, as BGG calls it, and several of these, I think all but one of these Moments in Conflict mini games or smaller packaged games were part of quads, and this one was part of a quad, one of the infamous or famous, I should say, SPI quads. The other interesting aspect of this game is that it was part of the Panzer Group Guderian system, which comes from that game, and I believe that quad was all games that were from that system. But that was a Jim Dunnigan system that it might have been one of the first ones to introduce kind of a variable or unknown powers. You didn't know what the unit strength. Strength of the Soviets. It was trying to simulate the untested nature of the Soviet forces, and so you didn't know exactly what their strength was until you flipped them over. I believe that was started with that system, and then this is part of that system as well. So let's take a look at the back of the bag here, and this is a weird little bag here with just this little strip of tape here. I think I've pulled it out of here a few times, but it's been a long time since I pulled it out of here. As it says here, after the Kiev encirclement, Army Group South approached the Donets Basin with the city of Kharkov to the north and Rostov to the southeast. The operation to seize the area went well at first, as two more Soviet armies were surrounded and destroyed by rapidly advancing panzers. However, the rain and snow soon slowed down the Axis advance. Kharkov fell, but the goal of Rostov, a good deal further east, forced the Germans to dangerously stretch their lines. Let's see if I can go a little bit closer in here so you can see all the goodies of this back here. When the attack into the city finally began, the Soviets were already counterattacking the German salient from the north. Rostov, the first Soviet counterattack, is an operational simulation of this dynamic conflict which saw the Germans actually take and hold Rostov, only to be driven out within weeks by wave upon wave of Soviet attacks. Infantry and armor divisions, regiment and brigade counters representing the actual forces involved in the battle maneuver and engage on a detailed map of the area that includes all pertinent terrain and simple probability charts to reveal the outcome of each combat. I like how they portrayed that. Simple probability charts. So this one is, I don't believe this one was from Dunnigan. I think this was a Butterfield and Simonson effort to take the series. I don't know if each of the quads of this were done by different people or not. I'd have to look that up. But this is the only one of those that I picked up back in the day. So let's do a little bit of this. See how old that glue is? Jeez, kind of hate doing this. This is kind of retro today in doing that. So I don't know if this is how I got it, and I really don't remember where I picked this up. I don't know if I traded this with a friend or if I bought it at a store. I didn't see a price tag on it, but it's in excellent condition here, as you can see. That cover sheet is just that, just a cover sheet there. Kind of protect the contents or keep them together. Inside, what we have here is we have a map. This is in excellent condition here. And then we have the counters, which we have two sheets here. And this is typical SPI type counters. So this is Army Group South. So I mean that must be the quad. So it's counter sheet number 3, and this one's not numbered here. So I assume these are the Soviets. Yes, because it says that on there. They're double-sided. Yeah, Army Group counter sheet number. Oh, that's weird. Number sheet 3 back, and this is number 3. That's weird. It's kind of weird because they're both labeled counter sheet number 3. But you see they're double-sided. Thickness is typical, you know, SPI of the era, the late 70s. So you got the counters there. Then we have the map, which I'll get to that in a second. Let's take a look at the rules here. So this is the Army Group South addenda, so some errata. Talking about Kiev, Rostov, Operation Star. So yeah, these are the different games in that quad. So that was Kiev, Rostov, Operation Star, and Korsun. So this is what I need for this one. But those are the 4 games that are in the quad there. And if any of you, I mean, God, this has been out forever, so several of you have had to have played this or owned this or still own it. Love to know your thoughts on any of this. This system or this quad or this game. So let's go. Now I got to go back up a little bit because you're going to want to see some more of the rules here. So this is the exclusive rule. So it's a series or system. So you're going to have exclusive rules. This is just for Rostov, and then you have your standard rules. This is the standard rules for Army Group South. And I really don't know how much this changed from Panzer Group Guderian into this Army Group South quad, but I know that they are based on the general system here. This is interesting on the old SPI. This is how to read the rules, you know, the case system. You know, that's kind of, you don't see that nowadays in rule books, but I mean, this is the formative years of the hobby, and they're trying to explain, you know, how you read the rules here. You can see all that. So here's all your index, I should say, but introduction, how to play the game, game equipment, sequence of play, movement, overrun, stacking, zones of control, combat, terrain effects, headquarters, supply, untried units. There's that untried unit aspect that I was telling you about, and air power, reinforcements, and German unit organization. See if there's more. Nope, that's it. So here are the kind of typical SPI format. It's triple column. The print is relatively small. However, some of the images, which are of course just black and white, show you the how to read the units or the counters. As you can see there, you know, your setup hex, unit type, division, movement, allowance, attack strength, defense strength, those kind of things. Your different type of units here on this page. Here's your sequence of play. And it's your standard, you know, hex and counter with, you know, movement and combat. Here's your overrun. Here's your charts and tables. So you got your combat results table and terrain effects table here. Disengagement table, weather table, Soviet reinforcement. Also, this is for use in Operation Star only, so we won't use this in this one. And you got 2 of these. That's interesting. So I guess you could split this down the middle, so each person or player would have their own set. And again, it's not like the player aids we're used to today because it's all just paper. However, this was in a small folio and in a quad, so maybe they didn't, you know, they didn't necessarily have the means to have, you know, thicker paper for some of this stuff, or it wasn't practical. Here's stacking, zones of control, got to have some ZOC, combat, training effects, headquarters, supply. Again, this says in the introduction or in the back of the cover that is operational, so you should expect some supply to be involved there. And here's this untried units. So in the first 2 years, let's go a little bit closer here. In the first 2 years of the Russo-German War, millions of Soviet soldiers were mobilized, hurriedly trained, and thrown into the front to face the Axis. The quality of these forces varied greatly. Some fought with distinctions, while others dissolved at first enemy contact. This unknown quantity is represented in this game by untried units, which make up a large portion of the Soviet players' forces. So here's those untried units. And so these are not ones where you have to flip over. I think you just have placed on the map with their untried side face up. Oh, okay, so let's take a look at some of those. It's the Soviet units. So yeah, here they are. So here's the untried face. So the back of it is going to be untried. So you place it on the board with these. So I imagine you randomly generate or randomly draw and put them on their setup hexes, these units. And so you don't know what it is. You just know that it's got, I think that's the movement value, but you have no idea what the other values are on it. Then when it's engaged, you're going to find out what's the quality of the actual unit there. So even some of the headquarter units are untried. That's interesting. So I mean, you got a 128 here, all the way up to an 888. So yeah, big difference in some of the units there. So, and I think Panzer Group Guderian was one of the first to do that, or I don't know if it was the first, but it was one of the early noted to do some of that. So that's an interesting mechanism and system that this quad utilized, and this game especially utilizes, as you can see from its counters. There's placement of untried units, how the untried units are revealed. Once units are placed and play begins, units remain they're untried until they are involved in combat. So that they have to be involved in combat to turn them over. Here's air power rules and then reinforcements. Design credits are John H. Butterfield, and the physical system and graphics were Redmond Simonson. Redmond Simonson, of course, did a lot of the graphics and physical system and graphics for SPI on a lot of their games. Research assistants, Joe Bukowski, another well-known and successful designer. Rules editing is Brad Hessel. Based on the Panzer Group Guderian game, system designed by James F. Dunnigan. So there you have there. So there is your lineage for this design credits. Let's look at the Rostov specific rules here. Oh, that was the Rostov specific. Oh, no, sorry. I flipped it over. So, yeah, that was this is different design credits here. So same, Butterfield did this. So I guess Butterfield did the quad, possibly, and then, of course, he's listed as the designer for this Rostov. Got some play testers listed here as well. So let's look at the Rostov specific rules. You got setting up the game, of course, is specific to the Rostov scenario. Additions and changes to the standard rules. So we got some stuff on rail capacity, roads, major rivers, German division integration, Soviet unit with second step, supply sources, air power. Okay. There's weather, disengagement, special Soviet headquarter unit abilities, access supply, air markers, reinforcements and withdrawals, and victory conditions. So that's the explicit or special or exclusive, I should say, rules for Rostov. And there's not that many here. There's, again, 3-column, relatively small print, but only 4 pages of rules. I mean, it looks like there's a lot there, but it's not quite a bit of, not that many changes. They're relatively small sections here to cover each one of those different areas. And of course, weather I think is going to be notable given how it affected the campaign and the counterattack, or the attack and counterattack. So the Rostov weather is going to be important here. And then you got your reinforcement. Of course, that's always going to be specific to the individual battles. And then victory conditions, another thing that's going to be specific to the individual battles. So there you go. I'm not on the whole page there, so you didn't get to see the whole thing. Sorry about that. Anyway, so there you have it. 4 pages of rules, 4 exclusive rules, and then you got the standard rules, which run 8. Is that only 8 pages? Huh. Oh, there's some charts in there. So yeah, only 8 pages for the standard rules. Oh, there you have it. Now let's take a look at this map here, see what we have in store for us. So this is a typical SPI map of the time period. So this would be a Redmond-Simonson development. And let's go up Periscope and see a little bit more about what we have here. There we go. Almost get the whole thing on the, there we go. So, very clear terrain features. Here's your terrain key down here. So you can see the woods are very clearly marked, taking up most of the hex. So I imagine that would be the terrain of the hex. You're going to have swamp on here, C hexes, clear, minor river, major river. And again, that was something in the rules that we saw here, the difference of major rivers. We've got cities and towns. You got railroads and roads. There's a weather line here because that weather is important. So don't know if I see the weather line jumping out at me here. There's a start line right here. So overall, interesting looking map. I mean, very clear, crisp. I mean, what you should expect from SPI of this era. You have your turn track here, which will also might show some. Oh, this is probably going to have weather, and I don't know if it's going to have reinforcements on it as well. A lot of times your turn tracks have reinforcements. So I'm not seeing the weather line. I have to look a little bit closer there. But let's go in a little bit closer into the map so you can see some of the interesting features here. And there are some NATO symbols on here. I assume those are possibly setup hexes. I'm not seeing that weather line, so I wonder where that is at. Then we have Rostov itself. Let's go in a little bit closer here. It's a nice picture. So a lot of clear terrain, and then a lot of, then as you go over to the other side of the map here, mostly clear, but some heavily wooded areas over here. But you have some rivers crisscrossing the area, so that's going to be something to have to deal with. Here's that weather line right here. So the weather line's right through the middle. So that's going to affect the probably movement more than anything else. I'd have to read up on the rules there. And we have some pockets of swamps over here. And so this is here's the compass rose. So this is north. So I imagine this weather north of this line is going to be worse than the weather south of this line. I would imagine. Trying to get down to Rostov down here. So there you have it. That is Rostov from SPI Games, or SPI. Here's the rules. Here's the Rostov exclusive rules. Here's the counters, the Soviets. So let's put the untried section up there, right? The Germans. Your addenda to those rules. And you have Rostov there. So there you have it. This is what you get in a bag of, or mini bag. I'm not sure if this was the original packaging or not, but there you have it. Yeah, that's how I got it. It almost feels like it was pulled out of the quad. Maybe it was, but anyway, there you have the, although it does say Moments in Conflict, so I think they were packaged separately for that series. But that is Rostov, the first Soviet counterattack, 1941, which was one of the 4 quad games that came in the Army Group South quad from SPI, and is based on Panzer Group Guderian of Jim Dunnigan fame, that if not introducing, at least made more popular, at least through a quad, this untried unit system to simulate untried units, units that were fresh into combat and didn't know how they were going to perform. Anyway, if you have any experience or comments on this or any of the quad games or on Panzer Group Guderian, feel free to leave them down below. But I thought doing a little bit of retro with Rostov today. Take care. Thanks for watching.